Steam says praise minimum specs are the i5-2400 and a GTX 660. My PC has an i3-4150 and a 750 Ti, and one question comes to mind. How well will my PC run Prey? See, Prey is a game that came out in 2017 and was developed by Arcane Studios, the same studio that made the legendary Dishonored series. The game was also published by Bethesda. Now, right off the bat, out of the box, the game ran surprisingly well. The first part of the game was really smooth, but as I played, I noticed the presets that the game came with. The image quality on this was like really poor, and not as in low resolution, but how sharp they were. They were a bunch of jagged edges and screen flickering, which points to one setting: anti-aliasing. Try to imagine this. You're given a task to fill a circle with standard square red Lego blocks. You try your best, but obviously the circle is filled with blocks, and up close the edges looks like jagged steps. So you grab something smaller. From a distance, the lighter shades trick your eye into seeing a smooth image instead of a sharp corner. This is what anti-aliasing does. Without it, your game is basically just big, jagged pixels, and with it, it becomes smoother to the human eye by blurring that hard edge with a closely matching color. See, anti-aliasing is a very demanding graphical setting. In Prey, there are 4 main settings: FXAA, SMAA1X, SMAA1TX, and SMAA2TX. See, in a game like Prey where you look at every detail, I believe that anti-aliasing is needed for the overall experience and decided to pick the highest setting. Now, you'll probably think that this will ruin my frames, like 10 FPS deficit. But to my surprise, and to probably your surprise, my frames only dropped 4 to 5, which blew my mind. But then I noticed something that wasn't in the graphics settings. But I tried to find it everywhere. In the game settings, the HUD, the audio, maybe I missed it in the video settings. Let me check that one more time. It wasn't there, so I had to dive deeper and paste this command, and so much better. See, the setting I was talking about was motion blur. For some unknown reason, the developers have made motion blur a forced setting, with the only way to turn it off is to add this line in the game's configuration folder. See, motion blur, if you're consistently getting high frames, it feels good. But if your system is struggling, it feels muddy and unresponsive. So that's why I generally disable it for every game, and actually, it sometimes gives a slight boost to your FPS. But if I have to dig through configuration files just to make this game look clean, is this really low-end friendly? At this point, the game was running better and smoother. Image was sharp and performance was stable. No dips into the 40s, so you wouldn't notice any stutters. But there was one more setting to test: VSync. Now, normally, for whichever game I play, I will always disable VSync. But whenever you disable it, this happened: screen tear. What is that actually? Now I want you to imagine again. Think of your monitor as a teacher receiving papers exactly 60 times per second. These students have to line up and wait for their turn to turn in their paper. But when VSync is on, the students will have to wait in line and wait for the teachers to say next. When VSync is off, the students just throw and keep throwing their papers to the teacher. The teacher can't possibly keep up, so sometimes 2 papers overlap. That overlap is screen tearing. See, VSync sets an FPS cap based on the refresh rate of your monitor. Your GPU won't even try to generate more frames than the FPS cap. Removing this cap is basically removing shackles from your GPU, allowing for more FPS but allowing screen tearing. With VSync figured out, let's take a look at the bulk of the video settings: shadows, object detail, and texture quality. And here it is where Prey surprised me again. I was able to set them all at high settings and performance barely changed. The shadow setting had little to no difference between low, medium, and high based on changes in performance. Maybe a 3 to 4 FPS difference from low to high. Same thing with object detail and texture quality, so I never had any incentive to lower it. Now I do have a potential reason for what I experienced. See, my 750 Ti is a 4GB model. If you're interested in how I got this, check this video out. Having more VRAM gives you more leeway in adjusting texture quality. But then I touched one setting. Okay, it wasn't that dramatic. Screen space occlusion, or ambient occlusion. This setting adds realistic shadowing in corners where objects meet, but it's much more demanding compared to regular shadow quality settings. So it's really a no-brainer to just turn this setting off and never ever turn it on ever again. So clearly, not all settings are created equal. Some barely touch performance, and others completely destroy it. And then there's anisotropic filtering. This is one of those settings that sounds intense. I mean, the number goes up and up and up and up until 16, and there's an X. Like what? But in reality, it barely makes a difference. Anisotropic filtering improves the clarity of textures at sharp angles. It basically blends textures to make them look more natural. And the higher the number goes, the further away it'll work. Now, beyond all the settings and tweaks, how does the game actually feel to play? It feels good. After disabling motion blur and figuring out right balance of settings, the experience became stable. It rarely dips into the 40s, and when it does, it's brief enough that you don't really notice it during normal gameplay. Combat doesn't feel sluggish or delayed, movements are responsive, aiming feels consistent, and nothing feels like it's fighting against the hardware. Only during encounters with maybe multiple enemies, the performance can dip, although it doesn't take you out of the moment. And that's really important because Prey is a game built on immersion, built on the player's choices in real time. If the performance constantly stuttered or dipped, the tension would fall apart. Now, if you recall, Steam recommends me an i5-2400 and a GTX 660. I ran it on an i3-4150 and a 750 Ti. Many settings applied barely touch performance, shadows and textures ran on high with minimal dips. Anisotropic filtering at 16x was basically free, and anti-aliasing did cause some decrease in FPS, but for what you're getting, I think it's definitely worth it. And although you will have to dig through config files and add a line of code to remove motion blur, along with occlusion being a huge kicker for a stable FPS, for a 2017 game that looks this good, that's honestly impressive. So yes, with full confidence I can say Prey is low-end approved. If this game went this well, I'm curious what other demanding games are secretly optimized as well. Here are my final settings and me running around to prove that I did get 60 FPS. Bye bye.